Yep. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, and welcome to the February 27th regular meeting of the Jackson Township Council. This meeting will now come to order. Pursuant to the provision of the New Jersey's Open Publics Meeting Act, adequate notice this meeting was properly provided by transmitting a notice of the meeting on January 28, 2025 for publication. Notice of this meeting, the Township Council, has been posted in the corridor of the municipal building and in the office of the municipal clerk. We will begin with a roll call. Councilman Borelli?
Here.
Councilman Palmieri?
Present.
Councilman Sargent?
Present.
Council Vice President Bernstein?
Here.
Council President Kuhn.
Here.
Also present this evening is Township Attorney, Mr. McGuckin,
Here.
Administrator Wall, and myself, Township Clerk Martin. Council President?
Thank you, Madam Clerk. First, I would ask for a motion to change the public speaking time from 5 minutes to 3 minutes, as we do have 8 ordinances on the agenda, and we would like to allow everyone to have a time to come up and speak. I'm going to ask for a motion.
Motion.
Second.
Councilman Borelli?
Yes.
Councilman Palmieri?
Yes.
Councilman Sargent?
Yes.
Council Vice President Bernstein?
Yes, and just one question, is just for tonight?
I was just going to say, this is just for tonight. We have 8 ordinances on
Okay, so
for reading tonight, so it's going to take quite a bit of time.
Council President Kuhn.
Yes.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is our small business recognition. Council President Kuhn?
Thank you. First, I would like to ask our councilman to say a couple words. We are honoring innovative martial arts tonight. After the councilman speaks, if you could all come up forward so we could take a picture and I could present you with your plaque.
Thank you, Council President.
Of course.
So tonight, we are proud to recognize Innovate Martial Arts as Jackson Township's small business highlight for January 2025. Owned and operated by Senior Master Turner and his wife, Mrs. Turner, Innovate Martial Arts has been a pillar of our community for the past 8 years. Beyond offering top-tier martial arts training, they provide after-school care, a summer camp program, and give back through holiday food drives, demonstrating their commitment to both their students and the Jackson community. A special acknowledgement also goes to Mrs. Malvino, the general manager, whose leadership and dedication help ensure that Innovate Martial Arts continues to thrive. Along with their incredible staff, they create a welcoming and supportive environment that empowers students and families alike. It is this dedication to excellence, service, and community that makes Innovate Martial Arts truly deserving of this honor. Congratulations to Senior Master Turner, Mrs. Turner, Mrs. Malvino, and the entire Innovate Martial Arts team on this well-earned recognition. Congratulations.
Congratulations to Innovative Martial Arts. If you could please come up and accept your plaque on behalf of the council for being the small business of the month for January 2025. That's good. Madam Clerk?
Thank you. We will continue with open comments from the Township Council, starting with Council President Kuhn.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. You can't hear. Madam Clerk, can you just make sure that the red light is on?
It is, thank you.
Okay. Can you hear her now, sir? Can you hear me? Okay, I'll continue then. As many of you know, the council has taken a proactive approach to working with our administration, particularly regarding the 2025 and 2026 budget. We are thoroughly reviewing our finances and ensuring responsible management of our taxpayer dollars. Department heads have been asking to provide detailed breakdowns of staff, salaries, and daily operations, allowing us to identify areas for cost saving and better resources allocations. We are assessing whether some departments are overstaffed while others are under-resourced, all with the goal of maximizing efficiency for the Jackson Township residents. Our priority is to ensure every tax dollar is spent wisely. Beyond the budget, we're also reviewing ordinances, many of which haven't been updated since 1960s. It's time to modernize, then to reflect today's Jackson Township. Government moves slowly, and change isn't always popular, but progress requires action. When people are talking, whether in support or opposition, it means something is being done. I'd rather face criticism than allow stagnation. I take my role seriously, and while I know not everyone will agree with every decision, I welcome engagement. Constructive feedback is invaluable, and I encourage meaningful discussions over mere criticism. One issue we are addressing in ordinance enforcement. Passing laws without enforcing them is unacceptable. Recently, a department admitted they were not enforcing the landlord registration ordinance adopted on February 27th, 2024. No request for an extension, no explanation, just inaction. That is not acceptable. If ordinances are on the books, they must be upheld, and we will strongly request the administration to hold the departments accountable. Additionally, we are working with administration to ensure employees fulfill their daily responsibilities. I will be going through the Jackson Township Employee Handbook that's right here that I've already outlined, and I've read half of it already, which is 78 pages. Residents deserve results from the public servants they fund. We are cutting unnecessary spending and implementing oversight measures to ensure every dollar is used efficiently. The level of scrutiny is new for our administration. We are making steady progress. Regarding concerns raised on Facebook and through emails, I appreciate those engaging constructively. While criticism is easily, real change requires participation. We may not always agree, but meaningful discussion leads to a better solution. In closing, my comments remain to serve this community with integrity and purpose. Change isn't always easy, but it is necessary for progress. Let's continue working together to make Jackson a township an even better place to live and work. Thank you. Now on to my next point of business for tonight's meeting, our police department. As the appointed liaison to the Jackson Township Police Department, I take my role seriously in maintaining communication between the council and the department, ensuring the needs of our officers are met and their mission to protect and serve the community is supported. This responsibility is crucial by our township's well-being as outlined by statute. After a year ago, this council approved the creation of a position of the Public Safety Director, a decision that had strong support for the men and women of the Jackson Police Department. The position was allegedly necessary due to concerns raised by nearly 2 decades of leadership under the Chief Coons, which some believe may have hinged the department efficiency and internal cohesion. Prior to the establishment of the position, we were informed by officers of all ranks about ongoing disarray within the department. Allegedly, there has been no staff meeting since August of 2015. And Chief Coons reportedly failed to attend or engage in any efforts to improve communication within the department. Additionally, there are allegations that Chief Coon did not adequately address critical staffing shortage, including unfulfilled patrol and supervised positions. Some have questioned his decision-making regarding staffing changes, such as the reassignment of personnel from specialized roles like traffic safety sergeants without apparently justifying with leadership. There are also claims that the chief showed little interest in hiring additional officers, a process that has largely been driven by Director Candido, the administration, and the council. Perhaps most certainly, it has been alleged that Chief Coons did not take steps to secure funding for necessary bulletproof vests for the officers, leaving them vulnerable. It has been reported that many officers continue to wear expired vests. Thankfully, under Director Candido's leadership, new vests are now being procured and efforts are being made to address this issue. Under Director Candido's leadership, Jackson Police Department has reportedly seen improvements in budgeting, addressing inefficiencies, and that some alleged were left by the previous leadership. This includes securing funding for the Special Resource Response Team and K-9 programs, as well as addressing the unbudgeted liabilities. Director Candido is also working to modernize outdated department policies, such as one allegedly that have not been updated in decades. As a council, we are grateful for Director Candido's efforts and look forward to continuing progress he will continue to bring to our Jackson Police Department. We are committing to moving forward, addressing the challenges posted by past leadership and ensuring that Jackson PD is fully equipped and supported to serve our community efficiently. Thank you and have a great night.
Council Vice President Bernstein.
Thank you, Clerk Martin. I just wanted to clarify really just one thing that was brought up at the last meeting when the council president discussed some of the ongoing audits and looking over some of our departments. We are working very well together with Mayor Reyna and the entire council and looking into some of our departments. One of the things that came up was, and I have the pleasure of sitting as a liaison to the planning board, is that people are continuously coming to some of our meetings and complaining about lack of enforcement, like the council president just said. We have one of the largest departments in town, in the area when it comes to code enforcement. So as the council president said last time, what we're looking to do is to find out how we can more efficiently use our departments, making sure that the residents are getting the results which are important to them. And A, is it a staffing issue? B, do we have enough men and women on the streets? Do we have too many men and women on the streets? Is there an overlap? Is it a management issue? Are they getting complaints in an efficient way? We got one complaint this week about landlord registration. I was copied on the email on a property that doesn't have a structure on the property, which doesn't require landlord. So that would just be a waste of proper township resources to send people out. And then we got another complaint this week about 3 officers showing up for one complaint. So all these definitely require proper oversight. And we're happy to be working together with administration to figure out how we can best use our tax dollars. Thank you and have a good night.
Councilman Borelli.
Thank you, Clerk Martin. Thank you to Councilman Palmieri for your initiative of meeting with Jackson businesses like Innovate Martial Arts. Looking forward to recognizing, celebrating the businesses and highlighting their contributions to our town like we did tonight with Innovate. Also, I plan on wholeheartedly standing with the Jackson School Board of Education and voting for Resolution 113-2025, which is on tonight's agenda, in support of our school district suing the state of New Jersey, who have literally shortchanged our town's public school kids for years. In addition to property taxes and overdevelopment concerns, it's the biggest issue facing our town. Like the affordable housing mandates and other ridiculous mandates imposed on towns like ours coming out of Trenton. Not all municipalities, though. The S2 school funding formula has been anything but fair to Jackson's public schools, to the point where schools are closing. It's unheard of. We get way more or less from Trenton than what we pay to them in taxes. It's despicable. The school funding formula should be equal across the board in our state. It would only change when we have a governor and a state legislature willing to make the change and do the right thing for every student in New Jersey, regardless of zip code and political allegiance. In closing, I appreciate council's efforts to make your local government more efficient and fiscally accountable for all our residents here in Jackson. Take care and have a good evening.
Councilman Palmieri.
So I would just like to add to what we saw this evening a little earlier today with the small business highlight. That was one small business we really had the opportunity to highlight and recognize this evening. But I go into many throughout the month, and I get to speak to those business owners and their staff, and I just kind of make them feel that this council is here to support them however we can in terms of what we could do as a municipality. So Jackson Small Business is strong. I think that this initiative that is council supported is going to be very positive this year. I'm looking forward to continuously bringing new small businesses every month here so we can recognize them. And, listen, Jackson Small Business is thriving, and you're going to see that every month. And I'm speaking to a lot of folks, and it's just really great positive feedback. So I'm looking forward to continuing that initiative. Thank you.
Councilman Sargent.
Good evening. I'd like to congratulate Innovative Martial Arts for a job well done, and I'll waive the rest of my comments for this evening.
we will continue with the second public hearing of the Community Development Block Grant. In accordance with the guidelines set forth, the township is required to hold a public hearing for the purpose of soliciting ideas that the community would like to see presented to the Ocean County Community Block Grant Program for calendar year 2025. After remarks by Council President Kuhn, if any member of the public has a comment to make, please address the council at the microphone and state your name and address clearly for the record. You'll have 3 minutes and may only speak once. Council President Kuhn?
Thank you, Madam Clerk. This is a annual grant that we get. Once we actually get the funds, the engineering department will ask for residents' input as to where to allocate the money for ADA compliance. Thank you.
May I have a motion to open public comment?
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved.
You come up. If seeing,
Seeing
okay, sure. Seeing no one come forward, make a motion to close public comment?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Motion approved.
Thank you.
Sorry, I can't run, but you're talking about the community block grant.
Yes,
Can you recall your motion under Robert's
I-
rules so that this way we could do
I-
this right?
it's okay.
Okay.
It's no problem. If you would have waved your hand, I would have said yes.
Sorry.
That's okay. You have 3 minutes. You missed the beginning. I'm just
I
gonna,
was listening
you got
to
it? Okay.
I listened to it in the car.
we're, go ahead.
Real simple. Don't need 3 minutes. Just like last time, you're looking for ideas, and things to apply this money to. Dog park, putting in proper drainage, putting in ADA accessible hardscape, so that this way somebody in a wheelchair could access the park on both sides, basically in the entrance area, because there's the double fences, when you walk into the park. And then maybe a path, a hardscape path to wherever the first bench is going to end up being located. They move it around from time to time. That's why I say, whatever, but to put a concrete pad in and lights. I understand that the intent of this block grant is to improve the livelihood of the town and the community, especially towards the lower income residents. Everybody uses the park, so can't really say anything socioeconomically, but I can certainly say that people with less money have a tendency to want to do cheaper things. People who are disabled have a tendency to have less money, so we can go there. I haven't heard or seen too many other options or anybody calling for anything, so I hope that some of the money could be applied towards that. Certainly it's been made very clear how the town council feels about applying it towards the affordable housing portion of the community block grant, making the affordable housing in the community better. So if that can't be the case, let's apply the little bit that we could all agree upon, making the dog park more accessible. And that's it.
Thank you, sir. I'll forward your request.
Thanks.
Have a good night. We'll see you again.
Thank you. The next item of business is first readings and introduction of ordinance 07 and 08, 2025. Council President Kuhn, are there any comments on ordinance 07, 2025?
Yes, Madam Clerk. If adopted, would regulate the parking of vehicles on certain township roads, particularly certain roads with conclusion of cul-de-sacs. This is in neighborhoods where they have the round islands in the middle that have grass growing. DPW cannot cut the grass. Cars are parking on there. You can still park in front of your home, 100%. You just cannot park on those center islands that are allocated in the ordinance because DPW cannot do their job. So our police department was writing tickets on this, and it was getting rejected from the judge because there was not township streets attached to it. So we had to update that. So it's being presented now. So again, if you live on one of these streets and you have an island in the middle, you cannot park on it. You will get a ticket.
Thank you. Ordinance 07, 2025 of the Township of Jackson, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, amending Chapter 103-45, Schedule 1, entitled No Parking, to add additional streets where parking shall be prohibited. Are there any questions or comments by the Township Council? May I have a motion to approve ordinance 07, 2025 on first reading and introduction to authorize the notice of approval and the public hearing to be held on March 11, 2025?
Motion?
Second.
Councilman Borelli?
Yes.
Councilman Palmieri?
Yes.
Councilman Sargent?
Yes.
Council Vice President Bernstein,
Yes.
Council President Kuhn.
Yes.
Thank you. The next item of business is first reading and introduction of ordinance 08-2025. Council President Kuhn, are there any comments on ordinance 08-2025?
Yes. This ordinance, if adopted, would require developers who post escrow to cover the professional fees incurred by the Planning and Zoning Board for reviewing their application to the responsibility of any changes rather than forcing it on the taxpayers to pay. Currently, township employees are responsible to review such changes. And the entire township, if this ordinance is adopted, the developer who posted these funds shall be responsible for the review of professional fee charged to the escrow account since they are the best positioned to determine same.
Thank you. Ordinance 08-2025, amending and supplementing Chapter 10-1 of the Township Code entitled Claims and Approvals, and to add Section 10-9 entitled Procedure for Payment of Planning and Zoning Board Professional Fees. Are there any questions or comments by the Township Council? May I have a motion to introduce ordinance 08-2025 on first reading and introduction to authorize the notice of approval and the public hearing to be held on March 11, 2025?
Motion?
Second.
Councilman Borelli?
Yes.
Councilman Palmieri?
Yes.
Councilman Sargent?
Yes.
Council Vice President Bernstein?
Yes.
Council President Kuhn.
Yes.
The next item of business is second reading and public hearing for ordinance 01-2025, entitled an ordinance of the Township of Jackson, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, amending and supplementing Chapter 244 of the Township Code of the Township of Jackson entitled Land Use and Development Regulations, as to amend 244-164 entitled Property Maintenance. This ordinance was introduced on February 11th, 2025. If any of the members of the public has a comment to make, please address the council at the microphone and state your name and address clearly for the record. You will have 3 minutes and may only speak once. May I have a motion to open public hearing?
Motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nope.
Thank you.
Hello again, Donnie, 206 Willow Point. I tried looking for this thing before. Is there any way, because maybe there's a problem with the website earlier, but is there any way to get like the actual statute that's being created read so that this way we know exactly what it is that we're, I guess, rallying for or against?
Like the changes that are being changed?
Yeah, whatever it is that you guys
It's
are
the
doing.
fee, this is,
Oh, it's just fees?
it's the fees, yes.
Oh, all right, I'm sorry.
Okay,
That's it.
you're welcome.
David Visconti, Whitesville Road, Jackson Township. Township employee, speaking as a private tax-paying citizen. I'm not speaking on behalf of code enforcement. The 3-minute time limit is a ridiculous short period of time. All it does is stifle public comment for your convenience. If you
Sir,
don't
you're
wanna-
wasting your
If you don't
time.
want to put in the time, then leave, okay? Regarding this amendment, as I said before, the reduction in fines is ridiculously, a ridiculous concept. It deters compliance. It does not encourage it. Regarding some of your comments earlier today, you're very.
This is
free-
on this ordinance only, sir. I have to stop you. I apologize.
Yeah.
It's on this ordinance only.
Yes, you're good at that. Okay. All right. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Have a great night. See you again.
Eleanor Hannum, Jackson, New Jersey. I just want to speak out against this ordinance because, quite frankly, in my view and opinion, this is being done for developers, speculators, Morty's friends that contributed to the PAC, his United Ocean County PAC, that have numerous land use and rental properties. So to reduce it from $1,000 to whatever it is that you're reducing it to, when you have Freehold has their fine is $2,000 and/or prison. Howell is $2,000 and/or prison. Toms River suggests the NJSA statute, which suggests $1,250. So for this board to be completely destroying the quality of life, because just like the applicant on Monday for 780, yes, keep looking at the clock, 780 Heisen Road, after Mr. Bernstein here was seen leaving a room with the applicants prior to that meeting.
That's not true.
Yes, it is.
That's not
And
true.
excuse me, do not use my time. That applicant, after it was approved, completely violated the ordinance the very next day. Not once, but twice. And you're going to give them this tiny little fine that is not compliant with the rest of the state of New Jersey. So you're doing it for your developer friends because that's exactly what this 244-168 is for. It is for development, and the fact that these applicants are not going to do their site plans like I'm watching right now, or they're
We're not
going to
talking about
continue-
applications here. We're talking
Excuse
about an
me,
ordinance, ma'am.
I am
It's an
not
ordinance.
talking
It's not about an application.
I am talking about what I see in this town, the illegal use of residential homes that now they're going
We
to
are
have
talking
a
about an
very,
ordinance.
very
We're not
re-
talking,
They are going to
ma'am,
have a
ma'am,
very,
you're
very
out of order.
reduced- You are,
Ma'am, you're out of order.
ma'am, you are now violating my First Amendment
You're not
right.
talking about what's in front of us.
Excuse me,
Ma'am.
are we putting more time on?
No,
I'm talking
we're
about
not.
how this is going to affect this town. That is what I'm talking about. I am talking about illegal use, and this is reducing that fine. You are destroying this town.
Have a great night, ma'am. I'll see you again.
Hi, Rania Asi Mahmood, 486 Meadowwood Road, 780 Heisen Road. You personally, Jen Kuhn, said that you would keep an eye out. Don't interrupt me. You already cut the time from 5 minutes.
This is
to 3
about an
minutes.
ordinance, ma'am.
Exactly. Don't interrupt me. You're taking my time. So,
Ma'am, I'm sorry, I'm gonna.
Excuse me.
I am going to speak because
This
this is a
ordinance
record.
is
no,
regarding
Ma'am,
the
this is a
illegal-
record that is being created on a hearing of a public ordinance.
Yes.
You will have an opportunity later in the meeting to speak
No.
about any other
I
issue
wanna-
you like.
I would like
But at
to
this
use
time,
my
this
time
hearing
now.
is upon only the ordinance.
Yes,
And
this
comments
is
must be
regarding the
directed to the
ordinance.
ordinance, to this ordinance.
This is regarding the ordinance.
Ma'am,
You
please
need
don't
to
raise your
stop
voice.
cutting my speech.
Ma'am, you're not speaking
I
about the
wish
ordinance.
to
If you wish to
restart the
speak to the
We are not
ordinance, if you
restarting
speak
the
to the
clock.
ordinance, ma'am, that's all.
This is regarding the ordinance, and if you would stop interrupting me, you would follow my train of thought here. Don't interrupt me, because when you all speak up
Ma'am,
here,
if you could
I
please
speak
continue speaking.
and I wait for you to finish speaking. So, beginning the timer that was already cut from 5 minutes to 3 minutes, Rania Asi Mahmood, 486 Meadowwood Road. So, last meeting, you said you would keep an eye out on Heisen, 780 Heisen. We've had 5 accidents, and now the code, let me speak, the code that you're putting in place, revising whatever it is you're revising, is going to enable further illegal use of a home. It's a renter. It's a
This
rental.
is property management ordinance, ma'am. We're not talking about 780 Hudson Road.
I am, because
But that's not applicable
you're
to what is
wishing
in front
to
of this.
reduce the violations from a certain amount to another
For
certain amount.
grass. For property. Go ahead. Please tell me what is applicable towards this ordinance that you have to say. I would love to hear it.
The violations that you're reducing from $1,000 to $100. And why did you reduce the time from 5 minutes to 3 minutes? So by reducing the violations from $1,000 to $100, you are further enabling illegal use of structures. This property has been functioning illegally for years, causing mayhem and chaos.
This
So why
ordinance
are
has
we
nothing to do
reducing
with
violations?
illegal houses. It has nothing to do with that. So I'm going to answer you just
Yeah.
because everybody seems to come
But
with
you're
with the
reducing
cost of the fines.
violations. Why? Why are we reducing violations?
What we are doing, we are in the process of adding it so that code enforcement, can everybody hear me? That code enforcement will now be able to ticket the tenant. Okay, that's what we're doing. This is phase one.
So you're reducing violations, so code enforcement.
Who's paying $1,000 violation? The judge is not ordering anybody to pay $1,000 violation, and these landlords aren't showing up to court. Let's be honest. So if we can go ahead, get through with this, and then next meeting add for the tenants to be responsible so that we're not out writing tickets for people that are not going to show up. Do you want the people to cut their grass? Okay, I get it. Do you want people to keep their property maintained? Go after the tenant. I'm a landlord. I have a rental property. My tenant is responsible to keep up with the property. I can't go there. I can't just walk. You guys don't understand. You can't just walk on these tenants' property. They have more rights than you do as a landlord. You can't just go and open up the door and say, how many people are here? You can't do that. It's not the way it works. So what we've been doing is, no, I'll give you another minute. So what we've been doing is we've been reaching out to other towns to find out how they're getting through the trials and tribulations of a rapidly growing rental situation. I sat with our code enforcement. I asked them how many rentals we have. They said anywhere between 6,000 and 8,000. How does code enforcement not know how many rentals we have? How do they not know? Why do we have code enforcement going 3 deep to somebody's house, walking in their garage? Okay, code enforcement on grass, that's not the issue. I understand your guys' issue. This is not taking care of it. But if we can go and we can make the tenants responsible for the acts that they're doing while their landlord does not live in that house and probably doesn't know what's going on. Do I think it's right? No. But I think that we need to hold the tenant responsible because they're the one that are causing these infractions. Am I correct? Yes.
I don't agree.
You don't agree with me. So you're okay, ma'am. Thank you.
I don't.
Let's give her 30 seconds on the clock since I did take 30 seconds.
I want
You
fairness
get 30
and
seconds, ma'am.
equality.
Thank you, ma'am. Have a great night. I'll see you again.
Deb Jones, Hyson Road. I just want to ask on this property maintenance. I
ma'am.
understand you keep talking about grass and everything else, but on this property maintenance, are you also including when the grass is totally removed and parking lots are put up, which is flooding their neighbors when all the runoff is coming? Is that going to be covered in here, or is there going to be more of a fine for that?
If somebody removes their grass, we can't say whether somebody wants to have grass or not have grass.
No, but you can say something if a lawn then becomes a parking lot, which then the property maintenance isn't
Right now,
being
there is
withheld.
no ordinance against parking in front of your house, if that's what you're asking.
No, I'm not asking that. I'm talking about when someone takes their lawn, Mr. Bernstein, you know what I'm talking about.
Absolutely.
When somebody takes their front lawn and hauls in our blend on a Sunday, covers it, now we get rain, now all the water comes down and washes out their neighbor's property. Is that going to be covered under property maintenance? Because if that's going to be limited, that's not going to be good because I've incurred more money than the little fine that they're going to get. Number two, you're right. Code enforcement doesn't know all the rentals. That's because a good number of them are illegal. So they're not going there, and it's changing rapidly, daily. There's people moving in and out on an everyday occurrence. So you can't expect a company or a department, rather, to keep up on something that is a constant revolving door. So you guys got to take into consideration stuff that it's not just how the property looks, it's how they're damaging their neighbors.
Thank you, ma'am.
Wasn't planning on
Just say your name.
it. Carlos Martins, 406 Cobain. It's to the council and my fellow neighbors. To come up here and make personal attacks and get mad at people, it doesn't help the cause. Like, I agree with the cause that you guys are that you're bringing up, and then I actually agree with everything you said about the zoning board. But the way it's presented here just becomes confrontational, and we're not helping our cause. Anyway, so because I am concerned when you tell me that, hey, you violated something and we're actually going to reduce the fee. Just that concept, right, kind of goes against what I would like. I would like to see code enforcement. I think is really important. I think that's one of the big things. And absentee landlords, right? We see that in my neighborhood, in my little, street. I see that impact, and I don't like it. I don't like 10 cars every day parked in front of on the street where little girls ride the bikes and stuff. So I think you explained it pretty good about the logic behind why this works.
Thank
And
you,
in the
sir.
long run, I think we're going to tackle that. I am concerned when you said that the zoning doesn't know how many residents. And I'm talking about
Not
legal.
zoning, so code enforcement. I
Yes.
asked them, I had a meeting with them a couple weeks ago. I asked them point blank, and they couldn't answer me. They gave me a 2,000
Right.
home range.
Right, and you were asking about legal, right? I understand.
Yes,
You
registered.
can't count the illegal.
Landlord
We don't
registered
know what
homes.
you don't know. But
Correct.
for the legal ones, we should know.
We should know. They are equipped with SDL. It's just not being used
Right.
properly for them to properly identify and to know
Right.
so that they could have a record of the properties that renew their registration, don't renew their registration, the names of the tenants. So therefore, when they do write violations for big grass or somebody that puts a tarp on the ground or has a property that has garbage all over it, which we've seen all over, they could then get the name from SDL and give it to the tenant, and the tenant would be responsible. And they can also write it to the landlord, but they can go after the tenant. And the tenant is the one living in the home. The tenant is the one that can go to court, and the tenant is the one that should be paying the fine.
So with my little knowledge, I like that idea because the tenant
you, sir.
is there. I don't have to go chase him, find the landlord
It's been
somewhere.
there, sir.
Maybe the
Administration
landlord is in
is-
Florida. I don't know, but yeah, I
Sir,
like
it's
that
been
idea.
there. We're supposed to implement SDL into their system in February of 2024. Currently, it is still not done.
Right.
It is still not done.
And then that falls into our Doge, as I like to say.
Yes, it is
But
part
I
of our
like to spell
Doge.
it DOJE, Department of Jackson Efficiency.
I
Thank
love that,
you.
sir. Thank you. Have a great night.
Joseph Raschuti from Jackson. The little things, when you let them slide, they turn into big problems. By getting rid of the small grass things, cutting it, you're going to end up with bigger problems. One example, you got houses that build a 6-foot fence in their backyard. They forget about the other 10 feet that they own beyond that fence. Go down the road here on East Veterans, go by Royal Grove. You get the fences, they've got bushes, but they don't take care of the grass right next to the sidewalk. You got a nice sidewalk, you want to walk, you got bugs and whatever else is all in that high growing grass and the bushes. But their mindset, it's on the other side of the fence. Out of my sight line, I'm not worried about it. Now, I don't know if they have a homeowners association, but it looks terrible out there. The grass gets 2 feet tall this past summer. It grabs garbage blowing in the wind, and it ends up there. It's unsightly. You should hold the tenants responsible. If they don't do it, I guarantee you, when you say something to the landlord, they're going to say something to their tenant. So what you're doing is bypassing the landlord and putting that responsibility on the tenant. They got a lease with that landlord. Hold the landlord responsible. He owns that property. If it looks terrible, if I was a landlord, I would like to know that they're not keeping up standards. You go by, there's trash cans on these veterans, been sitting there for days. I don't know why. It's a small thing, yes, a $25 fine, but they're sitting out there, they're blowing out into the road, impeding traffic. You have a trash day, you put it out the night before, you bring it in. Simple. It's a way of life. But to reduce the fines, because it's not good for the court system, it takes up their time. That's their business. If it takes up their time, they're going to have to need more hours. But please do not get rid of the small fines. Small adds to big, and you're going to have bigger problems down the line because people are going to say, I won't cut my grass. I'll pay the $50 fine instead of paying the landscaper $100 to cut it for me. It's cheaper. Pay the fine. Not have to pay a landscaper to do the work. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Seeing no one else come forward, make a motion to close public comment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. May I have a motion to authorize ordinance 01-2025?
Motion?
Second.
Councilman Borelli?
Yes.
Councilman Palmieri?
Yes.
Councilman Sargent?
Yes.
Council Vice President Bernstein?
Yes.
Council President Kuhn?
I just want to add that the meaning behind these fines is to, again, you saw the future that we had said that we are going to be adding code enforcement to allow to enforce on the tenants. And we do believe that this is going to actually get them enforced and get them paid. Nobody is getting $1,000 fine and paying $1,000 fine. They're just not showing up to court. It's not like they're mandated to come to court, and it's not like they're putting out a warrant for their arrest. So if we have minimal fines that are smaller, I'm not saying nothing, and we have code enforcement that enforces it repeatedly and gives them, I believe that the tenants will go, and we were trying to, we've seen it work in other towns. So I vote yes, and, I vote yes.
Can I ask one quick question? Is the fines going to be able to be paid online?
The fines, yes. So the fines will be able to be paid online because they're not going to have to go to court, which should be able to keep the courts moving along and people realizing that code enforcement is going to give a fine. And when a tenant gets a fine, a tenant's not going to want to pay it. Then it's going to go to the landlord, give them both. So we are trying to clean up and do what we can. Thank you. Go ahead, Madam Clerk.
The next item of business is the second reading of public hearing for ordinance 02-2025, entitled an ordinance to the Township of Jackson, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, establishing the salary range for all of the various officials and employees of the township for the year 2025 and thereafter. This ordinance was introduced on February 11, 2025. If any member of the public has a comment to make, please address the council at the microphone, state your name and address clearly for the record. You have 3 minutes and may only speak once. May I have a motion to open the public hearing?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved.
Jim Salakia. The only comments I'm going to make on this ordinance is based on comments you guys have made tonight. It should be a 5-0 no. Because this ordinance, to change it, I asked at the last meeting why it was being done. I got a roundabout answer. I was told it was a state mandate. State mandates don't tell you you have to increase these things. You just have to post them. Mr. McGuckin told us Jackson Township uses a smaller window, smaller ranges, and they've been doing it for 20 years. Well, Ms. Kuhn, you've made the comment. Saying it's been that way for as long as you can remember is not the answer anymore. So that, based on your comments and Mr. Bernstein, and Mr. Palmieri, I know you even spoke in the article that I read, that all three of you commented regarding how you're going to look at all the departments. Here's one you can look at right now and stop it. You're going through the budget process, make sure it's right before it's done. You know what? There's maybe 5 people that this is going to impact if you say no to it and go back to the 2024. It's only impacting the ones that are at the max of their range anyway. Those are the only people. And I'm pretty sure, and I'm going to hope that Jackson Township doesn't pay every employee the max of their range, because then you have another problem and you could save a hell of a lot of money that way. So based on your comments, I think every one of you should say no to it. The other part of when I was up here last week, I made a statement and one of the residents pointed out that there was an error.
It was corrected.
I understand that. But what concerns me is there's 5 of you up there. I know, Mr. Sargent, you weren't at the meeting last week, so I'll exclude you from this. But there were 5 of you. None of you has caught it. What does that mean to the residents? Well, if I'm looking at it, my question becomes, are you reading these things or are you just accepting them that they're written the way you think they're supposed to be written? So That's my concern. This, to me, is a clear you vote no on this tonight.
I do read the numbers. I did not read the year. I did not read the beginning paragraph of that. I will be honest with you and transparent. I did look into what your comment was last meeting. And because the values or the ranges are so low, it is required for us, because I was going to remove it. And I was told that we need to keep it on because there is ranges that have changed. Go ahead, Councilman.
Council President, could I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Probably for the Attorney McGuckin or for Mr. Wall. What happens if we would leave last year's salary range?
Well, if there are contracts, if there are contracts or payments required by contract which are outside of the ordinance, they would be improper payments to the employees, would be noted in you would fail your audit, for lack of a better term, and pay can only be provided to people based upon an approved salary ordinance.
Are there, I guess, employees who would be outside of this range if we would not adopt this new range? Mr. Wall probably knows that better than me.
I've asked that question, and I was told from administration that there's nobody that is paid outside this range. Again,
The old range or the new range?
Not obviously the 2024 range.
I have a question for the attorney, if I could, please, Mr. McGuckin. Some of these ranges, these are union negotiated, correct? I mean, these ranges have to change because we have several year negotiations with unions where the minimal and maximum change every year because that's what's negotiated several years out. I mean, I've sat on many committees that do union negotiations, and these have to change with the union.
Correct.
Thank you, Councilman. We want to keep it moving. We have 8 ordinances. But there is multiple
Jen,
contracts.
You have 30 seconds.
30 seconds. Now I'm going to get yelled at by everyone.
In regards to the union contracts, and you made the statement, they're 7 years out.
Not 7 years, I said several.
There's several years. Correct. So why do the ranges have to change every year? If you know those union contracts are there, you can build your ranges so that you cover that full contract.
Because the minimal can't stay the same. If the minimal goes up every year, you can't keep the minimal too low because that if we hire someone new within that
They have to
range,
start
they
at the
have
higher
to be
range.
higher than the minimum.
But the max does not have to change.
Correct. But the minimum does, so it changes anyway.
The max changes with the union, so we only go up
Okay.
when
so
it's
the
higher.
the only way a minimal is impacted is if the minimal went down. Because if you're making 42,000 now, and that's the minimum, and next year the minimum under the contract goes to 44, the range is 42 to 80. They're within it. They're covered.
Let's ask Mr. McGuckin quickly. Could the range be from 0 to 100,000? Like, is that allowed, or at a certain point that raises red
No,
flags?
it's not. You have to have a range, and it can't be so
Right.
broad that it doesn't give notice to the public of what the individual employees could be making.
Correct. So we're different from other towns where our ranges are smaller. Some towns go over their range and they don't update their records. We do update our records, and that's why it's presented every year. We're gonna let somebody else speak.
You're only updating.
Thank you, sir. You have a great night. I appreciate it.
Hello again. I'm
Hi.
back.
Can you just state your name?
Yeah, Donnie Edelman, 206 Willow Point.
Thank you.
I understand this is overall in regards to the rank and file and I guess maybe hiring new people.
No, this is only budget. This is
Okay.
only salaries.
Well, my concern is, along with the budgetary component of it, is that we maintain that the employees in the various departments, specifically code enforcement and inspections, maintain proper accreditation and that they are fired when.
Sir, we're just going over this, but thank you. Come at the end and you can say that comment.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. McGuckin, through Council President Chair.
Yeah.
Aren't a lot of these civil service titles that have to,
Yes.
by law, civil service regs,
Yes. I think
indicate a
that,
minimum and a maximum for the title?
yes, I think
That's
that
correct.
the business administrator has said that for many years. So we're going to move on. Unless anybody else has any comments, I'd like to.
Anyone else come forward?
I make a motion to close public comment?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved. I have a motion to authorize ordinance 02, 2025.
Motion?
Second.
Councilman Borelli?
Yes.
Councilman Palmieri?
Yes.
Councilman Sargent?
Yes.
Council Vice President Bernstein?
Yes.
Council President Kuhn.
Yes.
Thank you. The next item of business is a second reading and public hearing for ordinance 03, 2025, entitled an ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Jackson, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, authorizing the acceptance of a land donation for properties known as Block 104, lots 29 and Lot 30, as shown on the tax map of the Township of Jackson, Wright Depot Road. This ordinance was introduced on February 11, 2025. If any member of the public has a comment to make, please address the council at the microphone and state your name and address clearly for the record. You'll have 3 minutes and may only speak once. May I have a motion to open public hearing?
Motion to open?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved.
Seeing no one come forward, make a motion to close public comment?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved. May I have a motion to authorize ordinance 03, 2025?
Motion?
Second.
Councilman Borelli?
Yes.
Councilman Palmieri?
Yes.
Councilman Sargent?
Yes.
Council Vice President Bernstein?
Yes, and thank you, Councilman Borelli, for finding this and bringing it to our attention. Thank you.
Council President Kuhn.
I'd like to second that. Thank you. She's texted me all day and can't wait for the text that this is done.
Very happy for them. and
Yes.
Glad we're able to get it done.
You didn't vote
yes.
And add
That-
it to
yes.
our open space inventory as well.
Yes, this will be added to our open space. Yes.
Thank you. The next item of business is a second reading and public hearing of 04, 2025, entitled an ordinance of the Township of Jackson, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, establishing Chapter 432 of the Township Code regulating low-speed electric bikes and motorized bicycles. This ordinance was introduced on February 11, 2025. If any member of the public has a comment to make, please address the council at the microphone and state your name and address clearly for the record. You have 3 minutes and may only speak once. May I have a motion to open public hearing?
Motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved.
Seeing no one come forward, and make a motion to close public comment?
Second.
Oh, wait, hurry up. Come on. Come on. You know which one this is, right? It's the bicycle.
Electric bicycles.
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that.
That's
Donnie
okay.
Edelman, 206 Willow Point. Couple of things. Please, for the love of God, clarify for the less intelligent Jackson police officers.
Sir, please.
Excuse me, I'm allowed to say what I want, how I
Right.
want. That an exclusion for whatever these regulations are for electric wheelchairs are. It shouldn't have to be said, but just for clarification, so there is no animosity going forward between any disabled resident and Jackson Police Department, that there is whatever exclusions would be appropriate for electric wheelchairs. Number one, and number two, I think the other thing is, on a technicality, you might just want to add electric scooters as a portion of that law, because they're all similar types of equipment, I guess, and the kids ride them and do whatever. And I just think that it's best that now that you have the time, it's only typing a few extra words before you sign it or vote on or whatever it is you guys do, just to cover all the bases. This way, there is no animosity, because, you know, the kids, like, I guess they should have their helmets on or their knee, whatever the law actually says is, because, you know, I don't want to see a kid get their head split open because they fell off a bike. I understand there's the reason behind this.
Thank you.
But just, again, put everything out there and spell it out for anybody who might get confused.
Thank you, sir. There is a part 2 coming. So, and yes, I will have Director Candido send you an email confirming that electric wheelchairs are acceptable.
Seeing no one else come forward, and make a motion to close public comment?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved. May I have a motion to authorize ordinance 04, 2025?
Motion?
Second.
Councilman Borelli?
Yes.
Councilman Palmieri?
If I could just add before voting, 2 things. One, I just want to be very clear. I take offense to Mr. Edelman saying that our police department is unintelligent. We have a smart, intelligent, dedicated, brave, and courageous police department. And if you are not putting on a uniform yourself, please do not disrespect the men and women that put on that uniform every day and risk their life for our town.
No,
Secondly, what I'd like to say is I would like eventually I'd like to incorporate scooters and other motorized devices, because I think it's more encompassing, and the younger generation are riding these scooters and other motorized vehicles that I think that we should regulate as well for safety.
Councilman, that is part two that I'm working with the Traffic Safety Bureau, and Officer Lasco is working on that now. He put many hours into this ordinance so that we could start it, and we will continue to work on it. But
Thank you.
absolutely, thank you.
I vote yes.
You can come back at the end, sir. You had.
Under Robert's rules, I have a right to.
No, you don't.
No, you-
for direct-
Sir,
for-
sir,
for- excuse me.
please. We've cut the time. I'm already getting a lot for that because we have a lot of
Under direct
ordinances.
comment, in
Sir.
reflection to what I said, I have a right to.
Sir.
No, you don't. So you have a
Sir.
right to come back later in the meeting.
You
not
can
during
come
the
back
hearing.
later in the meeting.
Okay.
I'm sorry,
Not a
sir. Thank
violation of
you.
Sunshine Law.
Thank you, Councilman. Can we continue, Madam Clerk?
Councilman Sargent,
Yes.
Council Vice President Bernstein,
Yes, I just have one quick, first of all, just thank you also to Officer Lasco and all the sergeants and everyone who was involved in this. Just to clarify, enforcement, I know it's something that came up before about the need for enforcement. We talked about this with other ordinances that we want to do, begging and pleading if we could actually have enforcement on this, because otherwise it's useless to continue creating ordinances if our men and women don't have the resources
Bless
to
you.
actually enforce it. So, but yes.
I do agree.
Council President Kuhn.
I'm going to second that. We do need enforcement, but we also need men and women in the police department to get hired. We need more police officers so that we can do enforcement. We do not have enough men and women out there to enforce a lot of the ordinances, and other departments are overloaded and aren't enforcing ordinances that we're doing, or blatantly telling us that they're not going to enforce them. So we are looking, again, we're always hiring at the police department. The mayor has allocated, I believe, 6 new hires. I know that they're interviewing some. I vote yes on this, and again, thank the Traffic Safety Bureau, the men and women of Jackson Police Department for always helping the council out in everything that we do. And I run every ordinance through the department head, so we try to keep it as clean as we can. But thank you. Yes.
Thank you. Motion approved. The next item, excuse me, of business is the second reading of public hearing for ordinance 05-2025, an ordinance of the Township of Jackson County, Ocean State of New Jersey, amending and supplementing Chapter 244 of the Township Code of the Township of Jackson entitled Land Use and Development Regulations, so as to amend 244-168 entitled Design of Single and Two-Family Dwellings. This ordinance was introduced on February 11th, 2025. If any member of the public have any comment to make, please address the council at the microphone and state your name and address clearly for the record. You have 3 minutes and may only speak once. May I have a motion to open the public hearing?
Motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved.
You can come up, ma'am. Again, you'll have 3 minutes. Please state your name.
Eleanor Haddam, Jackson, New Jersey. I have a question. Why is this ordinance being changed, and who is it being changed for?
Please speak. You have 3 minutes.
No, I'm asking the question.
Please speak. You have 3 minutes.
You're supposed to be answering my questions
I can do what I want.
when it comes
Please-
to the
please
ordinances.
speak, and I'll
That is
answer your
the
questions.
purpose of
This council will
this
not answer your
part,
questions. Please speak.
when residents are allowed to ask questions about
Absolutely.
ordinances that are being passed. So this is land use and development regulation. This creates a situation where property owners and developers can and will drop trailers on their property, destroying the character of our neighborhoods and our property values. So as the code reads now, adjoining dwellings shall be considered to be substantially alike in exterior design and appearance when the front elevations are along the same approximate plane and they have any one of the following characteristics. So in this ordinance, what you're looking to do is rewrite it and delete 1 or number 2 of the ordinance. The same basic dimensions are used without substantial change in orientation of the houses on the lots. The other portion of this ordinance that is being deleted is the size, type, and location of windows and doors, in the front elevation are without substantial differentiation. So why are these two pieces being deleted? But we are leaving in there the same basic dimensions are used without substantial differentiation of one or more exterior elevations. I find this very, very interesting that yet again, we are now at, since you've been here, you have changed 12 land use ordinances, 12. You are a real estate agent. I find this quite interesting. So again, I'm done. Can you answer my question? Why is this being changed and who is this being changed for?
There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. When you say you, can you pronounce us properly?
No, I'm just
I don't know who
asking the
you
question.
is. I don't speak to you like that.
Can
Don't
you
speak to me
ask-
like that.
Can you please?
Thank you, ma'am.
Answer my question.
This ordinance has not been updated since 1960.
You're not answering the question.
That was your answer. It's been updated
That's
since
the answer.
That is your answer.
That's the answer.
That is your answer.
This is being done again for developers.
No.
This is a change that is specifically being done for developers. And you are opening up the door that these developers or people that are buying a piece of property can plop a trailer and connect them. I know exactly what this is.
Thank you, ma'am.
I warned the public.
Seeing no one else come forward, make a motion to close public comment.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm sorry, I jumped the second. Who was the second? I didn't hear the second. Right.
I was the first.
Second.
You know it's
Thank you.
Burley.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved. May I have a motion to authorize ordinance 05-2025?
Motion?
Second.
Councilman Borelli?
Yes.
Councilman Palmieri?
Yes.
Councilman Sargent?
Yes.
Council Vice President Bernstein?
Yes.
Council President Kuhn?
Yes.
Thank you. The next item of business is a second reading and public hearing for ordinance 06-2025, an ordinance amending Chapter 388, Towers and Wrecker. This ordinance was introduced on February 11th, 2025. If any member of the public has a comment to make, please address the council at the microphone and state your name and address clear for the record. You have 3 minutes and may only speak once. May I have a motion to open public hearing?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved.
Seeing no one come forward, make a motion to close public comment.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Thank you. Motion approved. May I have a motion to authorize ordinance 06-2025?
Motion?
Second.
Councilman Borelli?
Yes.
Councilman Palmieri?
Yes.
Councilman Sargent?
Yes.
Council Vice President Bernstein?
Yes.
Council President Kuhn?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion approved. The next item of business is the payment authorization of bills and claims. I would like to note the following abstentions. Councilman Borelli, NJM 06, RUT 04, RUT 14, STA 28, and TRE 08. And Council President Kuhn, RCS 02. Are there any questions or comments by the Township Council?
No, ma'am.
May I have a motion to approve the bills and claims with the abstentions noted?
Motion?
Second.
Councilman Borelli?
Yes.
Councilman
Abstentions
Paul-
on those
Thank
one
you.
use, the ones you mentioned. Thanks.
Councilman Palmieri?
Yes.
Councilman Sargent?
Yes.
Council Vice President Bernstein?
Yes.
Council President Kuhn?
Yes.
Motion approved. The next item on the agenda is the consent agenda listed for tonight's consideration are resolutions 105 through 114, 2025, listed by title. I'd like to note an abstention from Councilman Sargent for resolution 112, 2025. Are there any questions or comments by Township Council?
I have a comment on Resolution 113-2025. The Jackson Board of Education has taken a significant and necessary step in authorizing legal action against the New Jersey State Board of Education. This decision is not just about one policy or mandate. It is about ensuring that our local school district retains the ability to make decisions that best serve the needs of our students, families, and community. As elected officials, we have a responsibility to stand with them in this fight. A resolution of support the Township Council, a resolution of support from the Township Council is more than a symbolic gesture. It is a clear message that Jackson will not stand idly by while state overreach threatens our ability to govern at the local level. We are united in protecting the integrity of our schools and the future of our children, and we will not back down. Thank you.
Are there any additional comments by the council?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. May I have a motion to authorize the consent agenda, resolutions 105 through 114, 2025, with the abstention noted of Councilman Sargent for resolution 112, 2025?
Motion.
Motion?
Second.
Councilman Borelli?
Yes.
Councilman Palmieri?
Yes.
Councilman Sargent?
Yes.
Council Vice President Bernstein?
Yes.
Council President Kuhn?
Yes.
Motion approved. Thank you. Is there anything additional before the public comment by the Township Council?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. At this time, if any member of the public has any comments to make, please address the council at the microphone. State your name and address clearly for the record. You'll have 3 minutes and may only speak once. May I have a motion to open public comment?
Motion to open public comment?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved.
Donna, you want to come up first to finish your statement? Okay.
David Moscone, Jackson, New Jersey, private citizen, employee of code enforcement, not speaking as a code enforcement officer. Again. Ms. Kuhn, every criticism you brought up regarding code enforcement has a very reasonable explanation, but you don't want to hear that in this.
You could do it during the audit.
You rush, what?
You can do it during your audit on March 11th.
Do what?
Explain.
I'm not going to explain anything. My bosses are,
Okay, thank you.
okay? I'm not done. Wait a minute. Don't dismiss me.
I won't.
I won't go, okay? You bring up the property maintenance and how tenants should be responsible instead of the landlords, also known as the property owner, okay? The property owners are the ones responsible to maintain the property. It is very easy to much easier to identify the property owner than it is the tenants. In many, many cases, we don't know who the tenants are. What do you mean, no? Yeah. I could look up any address and say whether it's an LLC or a private person. In many cases, we have illegal tenants, and we don't know who's in charge there. But you don't want to know that, see? Because you're a landlord, and you're working on behalf of the landlords. That's all I have to say.
Just because you said something to me, I'm going to respond to. I'm not a landlord. My little brother during COVID lives in my house, and you guys, I'm just saying, I did the proper paperwork because I had to. And if you understand landlord-tenant responsibility, the tenant has more responsible and owns more than the landlord. So the tenant is responsible. So you're inaccurate. And then if you go and with the paperwork that you have to fill out to code enforcement strictly says you have to have the tenant's first and last name and a contact phone number for them. So therefore, if you updated your system in SDL, you would have the tenant's information. Thank you, sir. Have a great night. I'll see you next week. Or sorry, 2 weeks. Yes, ma'am.
Deb Jones, Hyson Road. First, I'd like to thank Mr. Borelli and Mr. Palmieri for standing up with our Board of Ed, because we need nothing more than our entire town council to be standing up with our Board of Ed, no matter what they personally feel. Also, Ms. Kuhn, you mentioned that you said that change isn't always popular. It's not so much the change that's not popular, it's the continual changes that are blatantly poor changes that's not popular. The fact that you are asking for an audit now, after you voted in a over 300% raise for our council, that's outrageous. And you know I've stood here more than one time saying so. And one of the biggest problems, sorry, Ms. Kuhn, but you just said to one of the residents here, you said, I will do whatever I want. That's not okay. You can't do whatever you want. You, along with everyone else, you represent us into do. Can I have your attention, please? Because
Yeah,
I
absolutely,
gave
ma'am.
you yours.
I was just seeing what went up on the screen.
But we're the taxpayers. You're working for us, essentially, to do what's best for the entire town. You need to remove I from the equation. It is not an I, it's a us. It's not just you. Also, I'm a little disgusted that I not only saw this at the last meeting online, but now I've heard you say it a few times to people. When you say, and it's not in a nice, calm way, it's snarky. When you're saying, see you again, bye, have a good night. Mr. Bernstein, you said while your mic was on at the last meeting, after one of the residents came up and asked you questions, your exact words were, oh, that was fun. That's disrespectful. Your raise is funded by our taxes. Whether you like what is being said or not, you're held to a different standard than we are sitting out here. And that's because you were voted in. You can't just treat people like this. It's not right. You might not like it, but you have to do what's right by the people that you're working for. If you said to your boss, if they said something to you, oh, that's fun, in the manner in which you said it here, I don't think you'd have that job. It's not nice. We talk about everyone being nice to each other. Well, unfortunately, you got to lead by example. I'm very disgusted.
Thank you, ma'am.
Eleanor Hannum, Jackson, New Jersey. Just for the record, because there seems to be a skew of words so that the people think something is what it's not. So I'm going to read 244-164, which is the ordinance that 1/2025 that was just passed. It shall be the responsibility of every property owner, tenant, developer, and applicant to maintain in a safe and orderly condition all buildings and land. So it goes on to include potholes on their pavement, painting, curbing. This has everything to do with improving an application and a site plan. That's what this has to do with. The other point that I would like to note is that on 211, on the first reading, it is outlined that the first penalty is $75, second is $150, and the third is $300. But today, it seems as though it's now changed to first offense $100, second offense $250, and third offense $400. So these typos are very, very concerning and very, very unprofessional. I cannot believe none of you caught that. I would also like to address the fact of the continuous changing ordinances, continuous. And none of you have any reason as to why you're doing it. So I will go back to my comment that I made probably about a year ago. Oh, that's right. This is the anniversary of when my First Amendment right was violated. And Ms. Kuhn here, in exactly 6 seconds, had me removed by the police department, which is a complete violation of my constitutional rights. But again, this board continues to violate the Open Public Meetings Act. And I'd like to know if Chief Kuntz was provided a rice notice so that he knew that you would be talking about his work, his job performance on the dais and in public. That is illegal. I'd also like to know when the special meeting on January 23rd is going to be posted on our website because that was done illegally. And then Council President here illegally acting as a clerk posted it in the Asbury Park Press, bypassing the clerk's office. That again is illegal. Mr. Guckin can affirm that.
It's not.
I did look up the statute. And I find it very, very disappointing that I now see we lost a clerk because you didn't like her. She wouldn't do, she abided by the law. We lost a CFO, a deputy CFO, and now we're losing
Thank
Mr.
you,
Wall
ma'am.
here.
Thank you,
I would
ma'am.
like to know when
Thank you, ma'am.
the public will
Thank you,
be
ma'am.
allowed to know what
Thank
the
you, ma'am.
severance is.
Thank you,
for-
ma'am.
and
Thank you, ma'am. Have a
Mr.
great
Wall.
night.
Thank
I
you, Mr.
appreciate you
Wall,
coming
for
up.
your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Have a great night.
Madam President, if I could just quickly,
Sir, I'm going to ask it.
no, but we amended that agenda.
We did. I know. We all know we did.
And Council President,
And I'm
I
also
think
not
you
a
mentioned
clerk.
it by that meeting.
Yes, we
in the
did. We
beginning
did.
of the meeting.
I
Some
think that
people might have
everybody
come
knows
late.
that somebody came late and didn't realize that it was updated prior at the first reading. So I just wasn't going to justify that with an answer because it's already been answered. So I will say it again. It was updated last meeting. You must have missed it. The paperwork that you had last meeting when you brought it up was inaccurate, and the one that you brought up this time was inaccurate. Well, thank you, ma'am. Sir,
Ready?
I'm ready. Thank you.
Okay. Boys and girls, everybody
I'm
watching.
sorry, sir. Your name, just for the
Oh,
record.
sorry. Donnie Edelman, 206 Willow Point. Boys and girls, any children watching at home, earmuffs, kids. Couple things. Mr. Wall, let's just take care of this real. I called you a couple weeks ago, spoke to Lori. You did call me back, and I've called you a couple of times since you did return my call, and I haven't heard from you. I need to meet with you. Can you make a commitment on the record that you're going to meet with me sometime in the very near future to help resolve some issues?
Tomorrow would be fine.
Awesome. All right. That's it as far as you, as far as my issues with that. Mr. Palmieri, as a resident who's been abused by Jackson police, no one gives a fuck about your bootlicking. All right. I don't find all police officers bad. All right. But overall, the ignorance pervading through that police department from the top down, it's not started with Coons. It started with Candido. All right. As it is right now, I have several criminal charges pushed against me because Candido doesn't like me asserting my First Amendment rights. All right. Which is going to cost this town a lot of money if the board does not rein in their boy, because your police director is vastly exceeding his authority and is acting as the de facto police chief. He is making policy changes, and he is making changes that are essentially above his pay grade and out of his role and out of his scope of authority.
Sir, I'd be more than happy to send you the ordinance of the public safety director so that you could see he is acting within his authority.
No, he's not when
I'll email it to you tomorrow,
when
sure.
he's going- not
Don't want to
when
argue.
no
I'm
one
going to
authorized
email
him
it to you. I have your email, so you
You're
have it.
wasting
I
my
want you to
time.
read it and then come back
No one
and we'll go over it.
authorized Candido to put up the signs blocking access to Chief Shoal Drive. Candido did that on his own, and he spent the town's money by doing so, by changing the signage. And before the signs were changed, he had his officers, a bunch of pieces of shit, come out to my property 2 times in force, wasting 15 hours of man hours, all right, to issue me 9 tickets because I was filming them breaking the law. The concern here is I hear about enforcement. Why don't we start with making sure the police don't break the law? Why is there such a problem when I sit there, I point out the police are breaking the law? It is very cut and dry. They may not like it, and yes, it is maybe a very low-level crime, but theft is theft, and when it's the police officers who are writing tickets for window tints, no front license plate, and for the license plate blockers, half of them say that, oh, well, the license, they're legal. The other half say, well, we don't care. We're not going to enforce it because they've been told they're not allowed to use it as a pretextual reason. That's okay. Write the ticket and leave the person alone. You don't need to sit there and write the ticket and then go snooping, and away you go. But you have the police that are breaking all these laws. No one seems to care.
Thank you, sir. I'm going to email that to you just so you have it.
I have it.
Okay. I'm going to send it again.
Mr. Council President.
Yes.
Mr. Edelman has every right to file any litigation he wishes. This is the United States of America. This is a free country. However, I just want to make one thing clear. I will always back the blue. Thank you.
Thank you.
Rania Asi Mahmood, 486 Meadowwood Road. Ms. Kuhn, you earlier said homeowners are not mandated to show to court for violations. Last I checked, there's checks and balances, judicial system processes to be followed. The homeowner is the responsible person, not the tenant. Tenants come and go, and there's no real way to track all of our renters here in Jackson, and we all know this. The homeowner is the stakeholder and is the one financially invested in their own property. That is called responsibility, accountability, respect, and consideration for your neighbors, the law, and your community. 780 Hyson Road has been a disaster. You stated something and you were meant to keep your word, but you didn't. You said you were going to look out for 780 Hyson Road. You gave me incorrect information about the parking because the chief officer that was here said everything you said was incorrect. And then after that, we had 3 other accidents. So not only did you not follow up on Hyson Road, it got worse. The parking lot holds 60 cars, both shoulders parked from corner to corner, 5 accidents in less than a year and a half. So you said something, you didn't stick to it. That's not integrity. I'm sorry. Homeowners are responsible for their property. You pay taxes, you collect rental income, you make a contract with your tenant for what your standards are. You, as the homeowner, are responsible for your property.
Thank you, ma'am.
Joseph Raschuti, Jackson. You said you were not a landlord, but the meeting, when you first started with the first ordinances, you said, I'm a landlord. What are you? You're flip-flopping.
I pay the fees. A family member stays in my house and they consider me a landlord. So
But
I
you
pay
are
the
a
fees.
landlord.
If I don't collect the check, but yes, I guess I am a
All
landlord.
right, all right. Gray area. Mr. Bernstein, you are the council's coordinator with code enforcement? No. Who on the council is the?
No one.
No one. It's ran under administration.
In this form of government, it's the Faulkner Act. Administration deals with code.
Okay. Problem with code enforcement. Why can you not hold them?
We are not, they're not under our purview. It is under administration.
Well, there's a problem.
This is why we're getting so much flesh. We're getting a little kickback because we are
you need-
stepping in. We
you
are
need-
stepping in.
Then you need to pass a resolution giving you control.
Unfortunately, sir, this form of government doesn't work
Okay.
like that.
February 21, 2024, write it down, please. An application was before the zoning board to change a residence to a business. February 21, 2024. And I just looked at it before coming here. I replayed the tape. The applicant wanted to change it from a residence, R1, to a business. And he laid out all the explanations, testifying no more than 5 people are going to be there.
Sir, that's not this board. We're council. We don't do that. That's not under our
Well,
purview.
I'm going to bring it up because I want it on the record.
Okay.
A week that night, he was denied permission to change from a residence to a business. It was denied. 2 weeks later, there were dumpsters in the driveway. They were doing renovations inside. Called code enforcement, stopped by their office. What's going on there? He was denied. Nothing was done. Later on, it opened up as a business. You drive by in the evening, you see commercial ceiling lights in the front door. He changed it to a commercial use without authorization or approval from zoning board. This has been going on for a year. It's still going on. He said, I only need 6 parking spots. Every day you drive by there now, there is at least 8 cars. 3 weeks ago, There was 10 cars in the driveway and 3 on South Hope Chapel Road. It's 167 South Hope Chapel Road. He's been violating it and snubbing it in the residents' noses, doing what he wanted to do.
Sir, I took down the information. Unfortunately, your time is up. But again, I just want,
Yeah. So
code
I'm here-
enforcement's under administration. It's not under us.
I've gone to code enforcement numerous times. Nothing has
Thank
been
you,
done.
sir. I appreciate
And
it.
all they can say is, I'm looking into it. There's nothing to look into. Board it up, close it up, he's
Thank you,
illegal.
sir. Unfortunately, your time is up. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Council President, hopefully through the audit, we'll be able to get better
Yeah,
answers.
hopefully through the audit, a lot of these things will be able to, get remedied. Sorry, ma'am.
Okay, I'm really scared and nervous. Hi, Patty Whalen, 397 Leesville Road. I just have a question. I don't want to waste everyone's time. The ordinance was about cutting grass with the landlord and the tenant. That's what that ordinance was? So their grass has to be cut? Am I correct in understanding that?
Go ahead.
And then Mr., go ahead, sorry, Mr. McGuckin.
So it was the property maintenance code ordinance that was amended, but the ownership of the property and the tenant were already part of the ordinance. That didn't change. The only thing that changed was to allow little lower fines, however, higher fines for more violations, and mandatory court appearances for those who violate it more than twice.
So, I'm sorry, everybody. So you're finding the tenant and the landlord?
The
or just
ordinance
tenant?
has always applied to the landlord, the tenant, the
Thank you.
owner,
Okay.
whoever's there. It can apply to all of them. So
Can
the
you-
code
so-
enforcement can have the ability to do any of those individuals to be named as the defendant if the property is not being maintained.
Any
And that has
not-
not changed.
Okay, so not both? So my
It could
question
be
is.
all. It could be all of them.
Does the zoning, so if there, so be it, do we, as a town, find both the landlord and the tenant?
Only one person would be ultimately fined.
Okay,
It allows us to bring a charge against any of them, and
Okay.
whoever's easiest to find and easiest to get to court is the one that we would proceed against, because
Yes.
it's easier and cheaper for us to do it that way.
okay.
All right.
Thank you so much.
To
I-
answer your question, that's what we're looking into. So we will have that answer for you in 2 weeks. That's kind of what I was that was the gist of what I was getting at.
I heard that.
Thank you, ma'am.
You guys are you're very intimidating, so it's very scary.
No, no,
I
no,
have some
please.
critiques, which I see that they did put things up. So when you're doing the ordinances, and also if the clerk could just be a little bit more articulate or enunciate a little better, it's hard to understand what she was saying. But it would help if the ordinance, the picture of the ordinance number that you're discussing, he just put some stuff up. So it's like a flash that you can do with the audiovisual guy. I'm
Absolutely.
assuming that's who that is. That's just a
Yes, he is.
critique.
That's our
And then
IT.
the other thing is,
Yes.
so, because hearing, so a lot of people speak
I know.
very loud, and a lot of people, like Mr. McGuckin, it's like my husband, he's very soft-spoken. Sometimes I can't understand what he's saying. So if the audio-visual could just raise when people
We are working on it. It's,
Okay, I'm
we
sorry
try.
to take your time up. Have a good
Thank you,
evening.
ma'am. We appreciate
But
your input.
also, we're all, let's just please take it, you just please, because it's very scary.
Thank you, ma'am.
And there are some really nice people here and
Absolutely.
very nice people here. And we're all, I think, just trying to get to the same point in time.
Agreed.
Eventually,
Agreed,
in
ma'am.
life, okay?
Miss
So,
Miss Whalen,
Yes, sir.
would you say I'm soft-spoken too? I'm just kidding.
Mr. Palmieri, yes, unless you're talking about, yeah, and I
Yeah.
didn't, yes, okay.
Thank you,
See, I'm
ma'am.
nervous, goodbye.
Carlos Martins, Jackson, New Jersey. So when I first came here, I was actually very excited because I had some good news for everybody that I wanted to share. As a newly minted member of our multicultural committee, and we're actually getting stuff done, and we're going to have some great announcements. Unfortunately, right now, after everything that happened, I'm a little less excited. But anyway, I think it actually fits in. So on everybody can mark their calendars. March 26th, we're going to have our first ever forum related to the multicultural event.
Excuse me, sir, hold on a second. Can you please quiet down over there? Thank you.
And our goal, since this is our first ever, our members, and some of them are here today, we're going to introduce ourselves, focusing on our culture. Obviously, my name is Carlos Martin, so my culture is a little bit, but we have people from everywhere. And the idea is the more we know about the different cultures that are in Jackson, the better I think we can coexist. And if you know your neighbor, if you break bread with your neighbor, it's all going to be better for all of us. And so I think it's a great initiative. It is only our first one, but the idea that it's better, let's not wait to be 100% perfect. So it's going to be, we're 80% perfect. The idea here is get to know the residents, get to know our neighbors, and get to know us. And again, focused on culture, to the extent religion plays into your culture, great. Let's talk about that. So that's the initiative. We're also going to have a website, and it's going to be in 2 weeks. We're going to have a website on the Jackson Township. And as I call it, it's going to be in Trump time. So it's going to be
Thank
2
you.
weeks. We're going to have it out there. Again, it won't be perfect because it's going to be the first one, but at least it's there, and we're going to show some initiative. So please mark your calendars.
Yes, thank you. March 26th.
2025, this year,
Got
in a
it.
month. We're
Thank
gonna have
you.
it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Carlos.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Hi, my name is Ryan Drew, to Iowa Court. I'm just looking for clarification from something said earlier where you said that the landlords aren't showing up to pay the fines that are being put upon them. So you're going to divert the fines to the tenants. I'm just confused on how the landlords are allowed to get away with that when they're clearly the more wealthier out of the two compatriots. So they're just able to ignore the fines being put upon them while they're getting put upon the people that probably comparatively can't afford them, because the tenants also have to pay the landlord on top of the fine. So landlords just get to walk away. I don't know if that applies to this board or not, but just looking for clarification.
Do you want me to answer?
Yes, please.
So what happens is when you're a landlord and you have a tenant, there's a lease in place, and 99.9% of the landlords put in the lease that maintenance of the property maintenance is the responsibility of the tenant, and therefore the tenant would be responsible. If they would go to court, that would I would say, I'm no judge, I'm no jury, I'm no anything, but that's kind of where we were going with that, is that if the tenants are responsible, if a landlord wants to go, they can't just walk into a house without giving notification for the tenant or getting in there or going and cutting the grass. If the landlord is responsible to maintenance property, then yes, but that's why the attorney had said it could be both to the tenant and the landlord. So if they both go to court and a tenant, a landlord brings a lease and says, hey, it was the tenant's responsibility, here it is. I'm not a judge again, but I would think that the tenant would get the fine. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to open up so that code enforcement can go up to these properties and can give fines and give violations for properties that are not being maintained. We're just trying to give quality of life and make it better for everyone. We're not trying to, let anybody get less or more or anything. $1,000 fine is not being implemented in the court system that I'm aware of. I did ask. So we're just trying to say, listen, if we can give you, a couple more, and every 2 weeks you're getting, 150, $400 fine, and then you mandated you have to go to court, I think hopefully habitual offenders will stop happening.
All right, thank you. I was just looking for clarification. Have a good day.
Thank you, sir. Have a good night.
Good evening, Eric Jones, Hyson Road. I'm going to beat the dead horse, 780 Hyson. I live down the block, which is down the hill, 0.2 of a mile away. Now, I went to the planning board yesterday, or whatever day it was, and they were on the agenda to be approved to change the house into a house of worship. On your guys' billing thing, you already recognized it as a house of worship because there's some kind of payment to them. And the thing with the planning board is they told me they're going from here to the future. They're not looking backwards. Okay, all of us as neighbors, we've been dealing with this place since 2023. They changed the grade. They've ripped out all the grass, like my wife has said. When you talk about property maintenance, I've had Ocean County Soils out there to find them, to put up silt fence to keep the dirt from washing down the road. They've also, they've done all the changes to the house. there is no modifications being done. So every person that testified on the planning board, whether it be the lawyer, the planner, they all lied, because everything that they testified to is already done. The facade of the building has changed. They brought in concrete trucks. I don't know what, like 12 concrete trucks. I don't know what they were pouring. I don't know if they were securing the floor so they could have 100 people in there. Don't know. But I'm just letting you know that this is going on, and people have to deal with it for 3 years before an application is even approved. I've had zoning out there. Like I said, I've had the Soils Commission out there, and it still goes on.
We're looking into our code enforcement. That is a code
I've sent
enforcement issue.
a lot of videos to people. Mr. Wall is very
That-
aware of my
Everything you're
situation.
mentioning is a code enforcement issue, and that's why we're looking into code
But
enforcement.
you guys, you're riding code enforcement.
Could I ask one question? Just maybe pause the clock for 1 second. What happened with the county, with the soil? What did the county say?
Well, they came out and had to make corrections to stop the soil from washing off the property and down the road.
Did they find them? Do you know?
Yes. I don't know what the fines are for there, but they told me they did fine them,
Thank you.
you know? But anyway, as advertised, this meeting is advertised till 9 o'clock. So I don't know why you changed it to 3 minutes. We got some time left here. And
We
I
didn't
gotta-
know how many people, yeah, thank you.
But you could have done another, what do you call that? You make the change. Change it back to 5 right now, because I got a list.
No,
I got
no,
29
sir.
seconds.
I'm sorry, sir, I'm not doing that. Thank you.
But you could do that.
But I'm not going to.
See,
Thank
it's
you.
your way or the highway.
It's
Always.
rules. It's rules,
I.
because then I'm going to have 15 people that yell at me. Thank you.
Hope Drew. That was my son, his first time here. So I was at the planning board, and I guess my question is this: how do we deter people from illegally using their homes? Because it's not just houses of worship. There's schools, there's daycares. During the summers, there's summer camps. And we know, we were saying at the planning board meeting that it's a enforcement issue. And all you keep saying tonight is code, code, code. It's zoning and building. We know this. If I called right now code enforcer and I said, there is a daycare in Harmony Farms, 2 homes are working simultaneously together, drop off of 40 cars on a quiet residential street with no regard to the neighbors. The selfishness is just outrageous. Pickup is at 3:30, the same 40 cars come, park in this way, that way, this way. And that's just one neighborhood. This is just one example. I could give you 10. If I call right now, code can't do anything. Nothing. Their hands are tied. Zoning can't do anything because we still don't have an interpretation of a house of worship. We now need interpretations of what a prayer house is. We need interpretations of what a daycare is. We need interpretation of what a play date is. Because if you call zoning and they run out and they'll say, oh, they said it's a play date. I'm sorry, I'm a mom of 4. Play dates don't drop off kids, 40 of them with backpacks, and pick them up at 4:30 in the afternoon. A play date is a mom who walks in with her child and all other moms, and they go for a couple hours and they all leave together. We're not stupid. Okay, the games, I'm tired of the games. I'm tired of the shenanigans. I'm tired of the going around and going around. It's just something needs to be done. Jackson is not a town you can just come and do what you want. We are supposed to all live together. We're supposed to be neighbors. We are neighbors. I have great neighbors. But if they just disregarded me and my family, I'd be pissed. I'd be hurt. It's selfishness. And we all know what we're talking about. There needs to be ordinances created to give zoning and code more power to enforce what is happening here. Okay, their lives, if you were at the planning board, it was heartbreaking, absolutely heartbreaking to listen to her be so upset about what's happening. It's her life. I mean, do you guys not get that? This is an everyday, you might not see it, but it's every single day you wake up and it's just a reminder, and nothing is being done. Nothing is being done. There was a bus on my neighborhood who a car drove right past it. Now, my issue about some of the houses that are being illegally used is not anything, it's the harm that it's causing. My daughter is on the bus stop at 6:30 in the morning. It's dark. One morning it was raining. I ran in my car in my pajamas like a crazy mother, like most people would be. And I had to jump out of the car to stop another car because he was darting into an illegally used home. Do it regularly. You made the ordinances. You're giving the pathway to do it legally. You changed all the zoning to be not conditional. I can't think right now. All the zoning for houses worship, dorms, whatever, but you gave them the pathway to do it legally. You did.
Ma'am,
There's no excuses for doing it legally anymore. There really isn't. So you need to stop the illegalness and say, hey, listen, you want to do it? Close it down. Here's the pathway. We gave it to you. Here's your book. But nobody's doing it legally.
Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate it. Have a good night.
Seeing no one else come forward, make a motion to close public comment.
Second.
Aye.
Motion to close meeting?
I'll make a motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any
Thank
opposed?
you.
Motion approved.